Boom. All right, what's going on, you guys? It's Royce Jacob. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Crypto Convo, series where we cover exciting news and price action in the land of Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, and crypto-related stocks. You guys, the crypto markets are seeing a beautiful bounce at the moment, and although this is exciting, trust me, I'm always excited to see some of our OG plays doing well. I still have to question whether or not this is just another short-term bounce or whether this is an overall reversal of trend, which is of course the question everyone should be asking when we're seeing elongated corrections in any given market like we have with crypto over the past few weeks. Okay, so that is of course the primary discussion we're going to be having as we dive into the charts today. So let's do exactly that. As always, we'll quickly go over each topic we're going to be discussing today, and then we'll dive into each one individually. In front of us, you guys know the drill. TradingView, where we'll cover the following names today in this order, going down the watches, kicking it off with who else but the king. So Bitcoin, again, you guys, the price action of Bitcoin will, for the most part, dictate the price direction of every single asset tied to Bitcoin, including all altcoins, etc. Of course, Bitcoin miners, which we will be getting into right after Bitcoin. But again, kicking it off with Bitcoin, actually the biggest daily gainer in the past 24 hours in the whole crypto markets, which is pretty rare to see, and which gives me reason to believe that if we do see the crypto markets bounce back, we might see some Bitcoin dominance bounce back as well, considering altcoins have definitely taken a beating, but they did outshine Bitcoin, I should say, prior to the correction we have been seeing lately, okay? So kick it off with Bitcoin. Of course, you guys can see some targets around here. I know you guys have a little foresight as to what I may be thinking here. But again, as we dive into the charts, I will try to rationalize some of the lines and little things that I've drawn on the charts like targets and the money sign, the buying sign and whatnot, okay? So kick it off with Bitcoin. After that, we will move into the good old Bitcoin miners that are Riot Blockchain and Marathon Digital. So Riot and Mara up both double-digit percentage gainers today. Riot up 12% as we close out today. Mara up just under 11%. And at one point today, I think Riot was up like 17%. Mara was up 15%. So very, very impressive price action from the two OGs, from the King and Queen, Riot and Mara. But again, you guys, kind of same story with Bitcoin here. I'm still questioning whether or not this is just a bounce or whether it's a reversal. And again, as we get into the short and medium term price action, some of the short and medium term technicals regarding these plays, it will make more sense as to why I do believe, little spoiler alert, I do think that this is more of a bounce, at least until certain trend lines are broken. So again, this is all stuff we'll get into as we dive into the charts. After the two stocks, those are the only two equity plays we're going to be covering today. We're going to go straight back into cryptos, covering the good old alts. My top three personal altcoins. Again, you guys, there's a lot of great alts out there, but in my personal opinion, these are the three with the most actual tangible value. Kicking it off, of course, with the king of the alts, Ether. So Ether, many of the plays, many of altcoins, again, you see Bitcoin up almost 13% here, Ether up only 5% on the day, Binance, Cardano, all hovering in single digits, okay? Bitcoin is one of the few double-digit gainers in definitely the top 10, 20, 30, okay? So, again, little less exciting here, and especially as we dive into the charts, it does bum me out to say that although I do think that these could see a nice short-term bounce, there's still some we still got some shields in the way, okay? There's still a lot of very strong lines of resistance that some of these plays have to break through in order for me to flip bullish. But I will give you guys those bounce targets and I'll let you guys know when I would personally turn bullish on many of these altcoin plays. All of these plays actually, but the altcoins specifically look like they really need to see a breakthrough for me to flip bullish, okay? So Ethereum, EOS, Link, close it out with good old ChainLink, the OG. The true OG, the first video I ever made on this channel was ChainLink, so close it out with ChainLink, come full circle on this crypto combo. So those are all the names we're going to be covering on the chart today. In terms of fundamentals, I'm sorry. Those are the technicals. We're covering technicals on the charts, but in terms of fundamentals, I have two articles that I want to share with you guys. The first is probably the single biggest piece of news in crypto lately. Again, things have objectively been slowing down. You guys know that. And that's kind of the funny thing about how price action and charts and technicals and fundamentals all tie in together. When the price decreases, that's usually when you see a slowdown in news as well. So this, from a catalyzing perspective, is the only fundamental piece of news that I can believe catalyzed this nice move up in Bitcoin over the past 24, 48 hours. And it is that El Salvador becomes first country to adopt Bitcoin as a legal tender after passing law. So again, this is front page news in the land of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Great news. This really speaks to the overall fundamental beauty of Bitcoin and the product that is Bitcoin, the democratizing technology that Bitcoin brings to the table in Finance 2.0 in the global finance system. So great news here. We will get into this, and then in terms of Ether, which we'll jump into at the very end. So we'll kick it off with this, honestly. Dive into Bitcoin, Riot and Marathon on the charts. Cover this article about Ethereum, which is valid points. New deposits to Ethereum 2.0 reach record high in May. So from a fundamental perspective, this is great. ETH 2.0 has been advertised for the better part of Ethereum's entire lifespan. I'm just kidding, not that long. But ETH 2.0 has been being teased for so long, and the fact that we're making tangible steps closer, because Ether does need a certain amount of Ether. Ethereum does need a certain amount of Ether staked into this project to actually kind of implement ETH 2.0, and we'll learn a little bit more about that as we dive into this article once again at the end before we jump into the altcoins. So that's pretty much going to be the gist of today's video breakdown. As always, before we do dive in, I will ask you to please give the video a like if you do go on to gain value from it today. Let me know in the comments down below whether or not you think this is a bounce or a legit reversal. And again, I'll let you guys know my thoughts as we dive in. Subscribe to the channel if you're new around here, want to catch more content like this. Of course, please give the video a like if you are bullish on these names. If you're trading these names, even if you're not bullish, if you're trading these, please give the video a like. Really means a lot. And of course, check out my complete portfolio daily newsletter. First link down in the description. $15 a month if you want to know exactly when I'm trading these names, because again, I know you guys can tell by my tone, or many of you at least, I'm not quite bullish on these plays just yet. There are certain markers that I need to see to flip bullish, and when that time comes, you'll know exactly when that is, because I do update my portfolio every trading day during market hours. Literally every single trade in my entire portfolio, every position, call options, put options, stock positions, of course, cryptocurrency positions, all weighted in percentages of how they break down my portfolio. And again, I do update that every trading day in real time during market hours to let you guys know what I'm trading that day. And then I do send out the email newsletter afterwards, explaining my thoughts, rationalizing my trades, if you guys do want those real-time updates from myself. Don't want to wait for a nighttime video because I'm in Hawaii, and it's just kind of hard to fit everything in and not get this video posted at a reasonable time for most. So I apologize for that, but again, that's what the newsletter and portfolio are for. Appreciate it if you guys checked that. That was a long one. Appreciate it if you guys checked that out. But as always, if not, no worries at all. Let's dive into not these charts, but again, this first piece of news, always ground the analyses in the fundamentals. Okay, so key points here. El Salvador just became the first country to adopt Bitcoin as a legal tender. Lawmakers in the Central American countries' Congress voted by a super majority in the favor of Bitcoin, of the Bitcoin law. El Salvador has become the first country to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender. Huge. Lawmakers in Central America's countries' Congress voted by a supermajority in the favor of Bitcoin law, receiving 62 out of the 84 of the legislature's vote. That's a pretty dominant vote. The price of Bitcoin was up 5% to $34,000, which is crazy, like so unimpressive to see it up 5% to 34K shortly after the vote. But again, in terms of a fundamental catalyst, this was obviously it. I think this is El Salvador's president. Please correct me on this, you guys. I could sound very dumb, but I know this is the individual who is heading El Salvador. I know it's a president, but I'm not completely sure. So please correct me on that if I'm wrong. His tweet was, the hashtag Bitcoin law has been approved by a supermajority in the Salvadorian Congress. 62 of 84 votes. History. Hashtag BTC. Earlier on Wednesday, President Nayib Bukele sent the law to Congress for a vote. So again, big deal here. This guy's very active. This guy is an absolute Bitcoin fanboy. So this is important as well to talk about this. This is a great step in the right direction, once again, to really highlighting the fundamental value and the fundamental beauty of Bitcoin in an ever-evolving, decentralized global landscape. Okay, when borders hopefully slowly start to disappear, but also when there's a lot of people really hurting. To many of us in the States, we live in the luxury of not having to worry about our currency becoming completely debased. But in some of these more developing nations and smaller nations, and not global superpowers like US, China. So again, this is definitely not like, this does not hold nearly as much weight as, of course, like a global superpower or even like a top 10 economy, global economy, accepting Bitcoin as US tender. But it's a step in the right direction. Again, it's these smaller countries who really need Bitcoin from a fundamental perspective, because their currency, I'm not sure on the specifics of the El Salvadorian currency and how strong it is, but again, some of these smaller countries, Bitcoin really plays a strong part in their personal smaller economies. The purpose of this law, this is a quote, is to regulate Bitcoin as unrestricted legal tender with liberating power. Liberating is the perfect word to use. Unlimited in any transaction into any title or that public or private natural or legal persons require carrying out. That It's kind of a weirdly structured sentence. Prices can now be shown in Bitcoin. Tax contributions can be paid with a digital currency, and exchanges in Bitcoin will not be subject to capital gains tax. Whoa, that's a little sus there. That's a little sus for sure. I just highlighted that last part. I didn't read that, so it took me by surprise a little bit. Little sus right off the bat. If maybe the more I think about it, the less sus it'll get. But right off the bat, that seems very, very sus for kind of what my initial thing with that is. It seems pretty sus for the higher ranking, the wealthier individuals in this country. But again, we'll maybe cover that more in the future. Definitely not now. Let's cover price action on the chart. So Bitcoin. Let's just start with the short term, the first hurdle that we have to get through in the short term to flip me actually bullish on Bitcoin. So, I mean, first off, you guys see these arrows. This is pretty much my best case scenario over the medium term. This is both kind of late June, I'll say. So June 23rd, just where I happen to draw these. Keep in mind, you guys, all the price targets here are completely dependent on when these trend lines are hit. So just keep that in mind as well. And as always, go into TradingView for yourself, make your own trend lines, especially if you're trading these plays for yourself, and keep track of them, learn. And again, that's the biggest part, is doing is a better teacher than anything. Definitely a better teacher than me, okay? So short term, both that will come to play for both these hurdles, both these price targets, to both the upside and downside. So short term, very obviously, which we are getting very close to as I'm recording this video, is the fact that Bitcoin will have to break through the line of resistance on the short term downtrend. So this downtrend beginning late May, so a couple weeks ago now at this point, again, a lot of volatility. And that's what, ever since we kind of really started breaking down, you guys, this was kind of my hunch, is that we would play within this sideways channel, see a lot of volatility. And I'm pretty proud of that analysis. Again, you guys, that's pretty accurate. Don't want to toot my own horn, but it always feels good to be pretty darn accurate this far in advance. So again, kind of bragging, but it just feels good, you guys. I know you guys have felt the same way. So anyway, playing beautifully in this sideways channel, see a lot of volatility within this channel, but pretty much for the most part, sticking within this general sideways channel, just going sideways with a lot of volatility, okay? So again, regardless, Bitcoin is currently in a short-term downtrend. We are going to need to clear through this line of resistance, like very obvious line of resistance, which every single trader who is now trading Bitcoin is looking at, to make me bullish at all and not believe this is just a bounce, okay? So again, high, low, lower high, lower low, still a lower high, and then it's just based off this, you guys. Again, at the time I'm recording, just using somewhat sound rationale, just using general TA and trend lines, just all this basic stuff, I'm not bullish. I'm still skewed to the fact that is what I've been saying for such a long time, that Bitcoin still has to revert to the mean. So once an overall line of support has been broken, which is this cyan line right here, once we broke this at about 50K, again, 50K, not only is a strong line of support, but a very strong psychological resistance and support line was broken. At that point, I was pretty much like, okay, it's only a matter of time, or at least until we see an overall reversal, Bitcoin has to revert to the mean. Keep in mind, you guys, I played so many bubbles, played so many hype stuff. And again, there's still so many of these in the market. Once strong support is broken, once we are in kind of this, at this point, a medium-term correction, medium to longer-term, correction. Sorry, guys. Let me pick up the pieces of my throat real quick. Okay, so Anyway, so yeah, Bitcoin has to revert to the mean, which pretty much once support breaks, we have to come down to the initial high of this overall rally. Okay, so the reason 25K is drawn, again, technically you could say this is like technically at 24.6. Conservatively, I'll say 25K, which is what I've been saying for the better part of a month or so now. Technically 20K is the initial high. 20, of course, is 2017's high. So maybe that comes into play, but the first initial high after 20K was broken was 25K, was right here where this red line is. So conservatively, maybe we see 20K on the low end, on the absolute low end, but I'm very, very comfortable and very happy personally accumulating at around 25K. Okay, so again, at this point in time, I just can't be short-term bullish. I do have to believe we'll probably bounce off this and just go on to revert to the mean, which again is just... That's just such a basic hype rally. It happens almost every rally. Like, just go look at every single chart. They almost always revert to the mean. So again, my money at this point is going to be on a $25,000 Bitcoin. I think $25,000 is more likely. And also, especially considering how important of a day tomorrow actually is for the markets with the FOMC meeting. Actually, today, it's kind of like today and tomorrow. But there's a lot that's going to be happening over the course of the next couple of days in terms of just general inflation metrics. And of course, Bitcoin, as the king inflation hedge, will be very heavily affected by the decisions that the Fed makes during these meetings, okay? So that will be very impactful from a fundamental perspective. If that does not go well, it's it's even more likely to me than it already has been that we will see a $25,000 $24,000 to $25,000 Bitcoin over the coming weeks. But best case scenario, say we break out of the short-term downtrend. If we break conservatively like 38.5, very conservatively 39, because actually this purple line, like 39.5 would make me somewhat convinced, very conservatively, like $41,000. If we can break $41,000, like what, 42K, I'm going to be very convinced that we're on our way to 50 over the coming weeks, okay? But again, we're going to have to see how the short term plays out. At this point, I do lean bearish though, okay? So that said, let's move on to Riot and Mara. Of course, these same principles will apply to every chart we're going to be looking at today, but I'll still give you my upside and downside price targets so you guys know what I think is likely. So Riot is getting very close to kind of a line that I have been thinking for a while. This purple line right here, that will definitely act as a ceiling for Riot, which it did today. Actually, you can move this down to exactly where it was, and it acted exactly as a ceiling, okay? So this touch point right here, this bottom right here, again, you guys, TA 101, previous lines of resistance will act as new lines of support. Previous floors will act as new ceilings, which is what we're seeing now. Again, you guys, you can see that this floor right here perfectly acted as a ceiling on the short-term move up that we saw in Riot. So again, very exciting price action today. Love to see that. Riot is currently in a pretty clean ascending channel. I don't have to draw that for you guys there. I know you can see that just visualize it in your mind. So best case for Riot is going to be to come up to test a very strong trend line that I've been actually a collision of two very, very strong trend lines. So both the previous line of support on the overall uptrend and the current, a very evident line of resistance on the long-term downtrend beginning way back in late February, okay? So these two do intersect perfectly on June 16th. Best case scenario for Riot, if Bitcoin does continue to rip, keep in mind, Bitcoin will have to do well. The equity markets, the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, primarily those, not really the Dow, but those have to do well. Bitcoin has to do well in order for Riot, in my opinion, to come up here and test these. So best case scenario for Riot, June 17th, when these intersect, that would be very, very satisfying, but it's not necessarily, it does not by any metric have to happen. That would take us to about a $40 Riot on June 17th, okay? So that's best case scenario, but considering that I just said, I think it's more likely Bitcoin goes down than up, I do still think Riot, the same story with Riot, you guys, has to revert to the mean. This line of support, when this was broken on May 7th, that pretty much told me that at some point we're gonna revert to about 15 bucks, okay? Keep in mind, you guys, when we started talking about Riot back here, we were talking about Riot at $1, $2. Where it's at $30, although it's corrected so much from its 2021 highs, we're still up 30x. If we come down to $15, we've still, even talking about it at $2, we've still 7x'd, over 7x'd from $2 where we're at just about a year ago, okay? So that's very important to remember when you're trading these stocks. Although they have made a lot of progress, Bitcoin's made a lot of progress, crypto's huge, they're still way up on a 365-day basis, okay? So that's important to remember, and why what I have to keep telling myself and what I tell others when they say that a $15 Riot is impossible. But of course, you guys, my money's on it. So I do think that's still more likely considering everything I just said about Bitcoin. But again, we'll have to keep an eye on it over the short term. And of course, I will keep you guys posted on that in both the YouTube videos and then of course the newsletter as well. Okay. So Mara is looking a little stronger if I'm being completely honest. Okay. So Mara did outperform Riot for a while, and Mara actually peaked, reached its 2021 high in April of 2021, okay, at $57. Since then, been in a downtrend. You can see right here, this downtrend was broke. We saw a nice breakout on May 26th when this overall downtrend was broke, very steep downtrend. Then you can move, this guy like up here. So this trend line is definitely in play here. So you can see Mara came up to touch this, use this as a line of resistance, use that previous touch point as a line of resistance, bounce. No, wait, sorry. Let me think about this correctly. Okay, yeah, okay, there we go. So touch point, Mara did definitely use this as a line of resistance on the overall downtrend. Came up, broke out, saw a little breakout, continued to use that previous line of resistance as new support, saw a nice bounce up. And Mara's actually getting very close to this area that I've had drawn, like this area, same as Riot, I've drawn for a very long time, around $28. That acted as a historical, again, ceiling floor, like floor right here, gapped right below it. I do think it's very likely that Mara will almost inevitably see some resistance around the $28 level. And again, because Bitcoin is still sussing me out, I do definitely think we'll see some resistance around that point. Mara, same exact story. I still think Mara does need to revert to the mean. It's just a little lower than Riot, that initial high for Mara. Mara actually could see a worst case scenario and come to like down here where it was in November of 2020. I don't think that's likely. I think the floor for Mara will be around $14. Like Riot, 15, 16, Mara is going to be about 14. And yeah, I think that's more likely than not at this point. But of course, I could be wrong, you guys. And of course, I will be stoked to see some of these very, very strong lines of resistance broken over time, okay? So let's close it out with the alts, hop into this ETH 2.0 news, and then we'll close it out with just some quick altcoin analysis. All those alts look pretty similar, so I'll try to keep those quick and wrap up this video for you guys, okay? So ETH 2.0 deposits hit a record high last month, and now the first Ethereum node has launched into outer space, where it now resides aboard the ISS, the International Space Station. The first Ethereum node was launched into outer space on Thursday, June 3rd, as part of an initiative to bring enhanced security to blockchain transactions. Also, the Ethereum 2.0 network received a record-breaking number of new deposits in May, indicating increased interest and investment in Ethereum's plans to reduce blockchain energy consumption through a proof of stake or POS consensus protocol. Little graphic right there if you guys want to pause that, check that out. In May, the number of deposits for spinning up new ETH 2.0 validators increased 246% to a record-breaking total of 26,681. As of today, June 8th, there are over 160,000 active validators operating on ETH 2.0 and 6,700 pending validators queued for entry. Right here, you can see all those metrics. And actually, month over month, April to May, that's staggering. So I don't know what flipped here, but I love to see that. It might have been actually the pullback was just encouraging people like, okay, so I know that if I'm hodling my Ethereum, at this point, I'm definitely not selling it, so might as well put into proof of stake. All over here, when crypto was rallying, that's when you want to keep your Ether in like an exchange or in your wallet so you can liquidate it when it reaches its highs. But now that we're seeing a correction, all the strong hands, all those diamond hands with Ether are like, all right, I'm definitely not liquidating at these levels because I think Ether is going to be at 10K someday. Might as well stake it into ETH 2.0 and have that just, again, stake. Have your money make you money on top of the investment itself. Shout out BlockFi.com/Royce. Haven't shouted them out in a while. BlockFi.com/Royce. Even in crypto bear markets, have your money make money for you. I'll link that down below. I probably should have done a little BlockFi shout out. I regret not doing it, but I am now. So BlockFi.com/Royce. I'm talking like go to the website and stuff. BlockFi.com/Royce. Get up to a $250 bonus if you deposit like 10K. 5K is going to be like $125. But you get a bonus. I get a little bonus. BlockFi.com/Royce. BlockFi is such a no-brainer in my mind personally, but of course, always do your own research. But we love partners of the Waves fam. So shout out Waves by BlockFi. BlockFi.com/Royce. Throw that down below. Have your money make you money. Your Bitcoin should be earning interest on top of it appreciate as an investment itself. You can do Ether, you can do stable coins, all that good stuff. So a little shout out to BlockFi. As the number of deposits has grown, so has the total of ETH staked on the network. In order to be an ETH 2.0 validator, users must stake a minimum of 32 ETH worth roughly $81,000 at the time of writing to the network. So again, you guys, ETH 2.0 transferring to a proof of stake, it's so important for the network itself. And honestly, in my opinion, completely necessary for the future success of Ethereum. This needs to be implemented over not necessarily the super near future, but at some point, because again, they've been teasing it for so long. From a gas fee perspective, from an efficiency perspective, from a usability perspective, this needs to happen, in my opinion, for ETH to be successful moving into the future. Okay, so that's just my 2 cents on that. Ether, I mean, just very, very obviously here does need to break this very strong line of resistance from its high back in early May, over a month ago, or just about a month ago at this point. It seems like forever ago, but from its high back here a month ago, like obvious downtrend, every trader on the planet is going to be looking at its touch point June 7th as well, obviously touch point from its high. This is going to act as a very, very major line of resistance for Ethereum in the short term. So Ether conservatively will have to break over the coming day about $2,700 for me to flip bullish. If that does happen, I think it's very likely that ETH actually comes up here to test this previous line of resistance. Again, very, very strong line of support. Did prove itself to act as new resistance in this area following the tragic fall off cliff, sell off, bounced up. proved to act as somewhat of a ceiling, but because it was such a strong bounce, bounced through that a little bit, immediately went back under it, proved itself once again as a line of resistance here. Previous support, new resistance, okay? So I do think that it's likely if Ether does break about $2,700 in the near future, like very short term, that we could come up to test this trend line again around $3,100. And after that, we'll see what happens there. But that's kind of the upside. Potential downside is, of course, just coming down to test the overall line of support. This line of support at this point actually could be a lot lower, so I'm actually going to use that. This is going to be worst case scenario for Ether in my mind. We have enough touch points right here using that because it did come into play once again on the very bottom on the very low on May 22nd. So that is going to be the worst case in my mind. If we bounce off this, use a short-term line of resistance successfully. If we do bounce below, or if we do just use that as a ceiling, then I think it's likely that we will come down to about $2,000 once again over the coming week or so. Okay, so that's Ethereum. But again, you guys, there's a lot on the line in the short term. There's a lot that depends on the lines, I should say, as well in the short term. So of course, you guys keep an eye on these for yourself. EOS. From a fundamental perspective, you guys, EOS has so much potential right now. I actually want to see a quick price range on the top too. So from the top on May 12th, same as Ether, to the bottom right here, not too much later, just a couple weeks later, we saw a 76% correction in EOS. And thankfully, I mean, still in terms of like kind of average cost on my investment for EOS, way up. But again, that's a staggering correction, especially for a play that has so much fundamental value. If you guys didn't watch my EOS video, I posted probably a month ago at this point, my EOS solo analysis, why you should invest in EOS, what EOS is as a company. Very promising. Again, not going to get into the fundamentals now, but EOS, very, very exciting project from a fundamental perspective that I do believe is a great long-term investment personally, not financial advice. Okay. So EOS, again, same story, different. I mean, same story, different chart, I guess, different token. EOS also in a very, very evident short-term downtrend. This is the line of resistance here. EOS does need to break by June 10th. June 10th, again, like $5.60, conservatively $5.70 for me to flip bullish on EOS. And again, you guys, with these trend lines, I do always want to see at least a 4-hour closure of the candle, of the 4-hour candle above that trend line to actually kind of confirm that short-term direction. All right, so I would need to see about a $5.70 EOS, a closure above at $5.75 for me to flip bullish. If that does happen, I think it's very likely, very possible that EOS will come up here to test this a pretty strong trend line right here. This sign one, again, is kind of shaky, but that's like the most averaged out trend line I can get. Again, when you're kind of trying to draw trend lines, especially on such volatile assets like this, it's important to like right here, again, kind of touch point here, touch points here, touch points right here, touch point over here, touch point here. That looked about the best to me. So again, that's kind of how I view and how I draw trend lines sometimes, again, especially for volatile assets like this. So if that does happen, June 12th, if we do break out, say like tomorrow, June 12th, we could see pop up to about $6.40, which from here is a pretty nice price appreciation, like 15-20% right there. Okay, so again, you guys, if we break through this, maybe EOS comes out and plays out this super kind of janky head and shoulders pattern right here. So again, left shoulder, very like extended, these are some thick shoulders. So left shoulder, head, and then right shoulder, maybe that plays out. And to play that out precisely, maybe we come up to test this initial high here before a sell-off and then that huge parabolic rally. That would take us up to about $8.60, which again, from here, very, very impressive price action, over 50%. Okay, so that's EOS. Again, you guys kind of taking these day by day because we're so close to so many short-term lines of resistance. So again, it's hard to give those medium to longer-term price targets, but keep an eye on it for yourself. Like I'll keep saying that because I want you guys to do that. Okay, so close it out with good old ChainLink link. Again, same chart, different token. So short term, this is ChainLink is, in my opinion, more prone to see a bounce right now. So ChainLink does look more poised for a strong bounce, and I do think it's very likely that although ChainLink of all the plays on the charts right now is the most in the red, I do think it could see the most significant bounce because it would come down to test the line of resistance on the short-term downtrend once again beginning May 27th. Okay, so if we do bounce up to test this line of resistance, which again, and ChainLink, the weird thing about ChainLink too is ChainLink has historically acted as almost the anti-crypto within the crypto space. Very obviously a crypto, very obviously a DeFi play. So that is that. But ChainLink is notorious for outperforming the crypto markets. Like the entire crypto market can be red, And I've seen many occasions where ChainLink is in the green. Let me know down below if you guys remember like days like that. Okay, so maybe we see ChainLink, even if the rest of the crypto market falls, come up, bounce up to about $29. Just purely from a technical perspective, of course that could be different, but technically, I do think ChainLink will bounce up to about $29.50, conservative $29. If we can break this line of resistance on the short-term downtrend, let's just do like June 24th, late June right here. I do think it's very likely that ChainLink will ultimately, once we break out of this pretty much, from a technical perspective, I do think it's likely that ChainLink will come up to test, the previous line of support. Very strong line of support, proved itself as a pretty strong line of new resistance right here. So if we break out of the short-term downtrend, I think it is likely that we could see ChainLink come up to almost $40 by the end of the month. And for this month, that I think is best case scenario. The market, again, you guys, after corrections like this, investors, we're not just back off to the races. There's going to be some capitulation. There's going to be some bounces. There's going to be some sideways volatility like we're seeing in pretty much all of these guys. But again, it will take investors some time to regain that long-term sentiment. Even though things are bullish, the fundamentals are still bullish, things are great like the articles we just watched, it's going to take some time. Okay, so keep that in mind, you guys. Don't get too excited. Get excited, but don't get too excited. And of course, we will keep our eyes on all these plays moving forward. So call it there. Please let me know down below what your favorite play is of these. If you're bullish, if you think I'm completely wrong, if you think this is actually a long-term reversal, please let me know down below. Let me know why. Don't just say that. You got to rationalize it if you're going to say that, or rationalize your thoughts if you agree with this thesis, or if you have anything to add to it. Always love talking shop with you guys. Always love learning from you guys. So I will catch you downstairs. Until next time, always remember wave sound. Take action. Make waves. Peace.